Call it to order and do a little pledge. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence, please. Thank you for the moment of silence. If you watch any of the news, it's amazing how many meetings go on and there is no silence. First item, roll call. Everybody's here except Mr. Holland. And we'll do a twofer again. We did a twofer last week. It went very well. I don't know how to go this week.
Remains to be seen.
First is public comment.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Amy Salazar, and I live on 179th Street, and I've lived out there for 21 years. Been trying to get this road paved for about 14 years, and just was wanting to know why 179th Street is being brought up for discussion when it already has been approved for from 3-0 by the commissioners to go out for the bid, and so far it's really far into the project. It's in the final stages with lots of money, time, and all of our easements have already been taken. Utilities have been moved, and so we were just kind of, and I know the bid is due here soon. Just kind of curious to know why the county would have this up for discussion again.
I'll let Mr. Smith comment first because I have a lot of answers there.
Okay.
Okay. Well, it's in second session to be discussed, 179th Street. I wasn't here, so I don't know why it was brought up
Okay.
last week.
Okay.
As far as I know, the bids are opening on the 22nd, I believe, of March. And I think the road meets the traffic count. I think the latest traffic count was 300 and something. David will be up here.
I think since that is on the second session, it might be best to talk about that when Public Works is here and has more of that information. Okay. I know they went out and did traffic counts over the week, this last week, just to get updated traffic counts. So it might be best to, if you don't mind staying.
Okay, and then we can have some comment on that if that needs to be. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate you coming. Next will be administrative business. Unless there's some more public comment. How could I have ever gotten to that?
You used to see it.
That's all right.
Not yet. Glenn Berry, District 1. Hearing a lot of things here and out in the community on social networks about animal control in the county. And the people that I talk to, and we're animal people, believe it, love them to death. My wife will tell you, we spend buku money on house pets, outside pets, cows that were pets, horses, the whole deal. And I get where people are upset that they're seeing strays walking the county roads and through the fields and things like that. And I think it's become, to those of us that have lived out in the county, it's kind of a norm. You see your neighbor's dog running down the road, well, he's out making his rounds. It's just part of living out in the county. I understand people picking up dogs because they see them on the side of the road, and sometimes people are jumping the gun doing that. I know why they do it, because you don't want to see that dog get hit. But when we start talking about building animal control shelters or staffing animal control out in the county is a broad place. And I don't think you can do it with 1 or 2 staff. So that costs big money. And if we want to do something like that, we got to figure out where you're going to get the funds to do it at. Money's a big thing. But I think of the animal shelters that are overcrowded now. You can't turn them all over there because they're fostering dogs and cats out to other people because they don't have room for them. So if we're going to start picking them up, we're going to have to build something. Costs even more money. It's just something that I think people have to come to the realization we'd like to save them all, but we can't. It's not possible to do for every animal out there. Big-hearted people, we'd love to do it. I hate to see a dog or cat get hit by the side of the road. Used to stop and pick them up so the kids that owned those cats and dogs didn't have to drive by on the school bus and see them. Because I didn't want my kids to have to do that. I just think we really are going to have to look at this before we make a judgment on how we go about it. I think we're going to have to talk with the sheriff department and see how many people are calling in and complaining. I mean, if Joe down the road's cows got out, we're not going to go pick them up. We're going to have to get with the owner and find out why your cows are out all the time, you know, if it's a repetitive thing. Sure, they tear fences down, we all know that. But as far as dogs and cats, I got a bunch of cats at my house. My wife feeds them every day. If one of them disappears, it's a fact of living out in the country. Coyote got them, they went off and died of natural causes, I don't know. Had dogs do that, just up and took off, and I went and looked for them. Never found them. But they were old, and that's been the theory, is when a dog gets old, they go off and die somewhere. And so I think that people need to really think about the cost of these things. And like I said, me and my wife love animals to death, but you can't save every one of them.
Thank you, man, I appreciate it. And that's going to be later in the agenda also, so if anybody else has a comment on animal control and 179th, you'll save that till the session. Appreciate it. Anybody else? Joe, you're not gonna, I was wanting to treat this like, you know, one of the game shows, you know, Joe, come on down and everybody cheers, but I guess we can't do that.
Right.
Okay. We'll close that portion of the session. And next is administrative business, and it says approve health department aid to local grants grant application.
Morning, Commissioners. I submitted to you the aid to local grant application. This is an annual process that we have to submit to KDHE to approve our aid to local grants for the health department. We're not seeking any additional grants or any less money. We actually put in some additional funding in there for some things that we would like to enhance. We will get that back approval in May timeframe, since this is on the state fiscal year, to allow us also to adjust our county budget based off of these revenues. So these are all the revenues back that support the programs that we offer out of the health department. And it requires the chairman to sign.
Need a motion?
I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the health department to apply for the aid to local grant application.
I'll second it. How you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Well, 13th. Okay. Next will be the Kansas County Commissioner Association membership.
We received a renewal for the KCCA membership. In trying to identify what it was, we went to their website, which redirects to the Kansas Association of Counties, which we also have a membership in. So rather than just automatically renew it, I wanted to bring it to the board and make sure that's something that the board wants to continue. We have identified other memberships this year or last year that we've decided we weren't going to participate anymore because there just wasn't a return. So I asked the director to provide you with an explanation of what services they provide as part of this membership. And I just need the board to decide if they want to renew that or not.
So this is $9.95. What is the other membership?
It's like 1,500.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's $1,500 for the Kansas Association of Counties.
We're up to 2,400, 2,500. Do you have any questions?
No, I use some of their services sometimes. I talk to Randall Allen, them on occasion.
Yeah, and that's part of the Kansas Association of Counties. The KCCA is more of a membership where they provide an annual update on who's belongs, who's the commissioners across the state. Kind of like a director. Annual
conference also, which is coming up in Wichita, I believe, in May, June. We gotten some stuff on that.
Mr. Chairman.
Hey, first to the third. The only question I have is, you know, there's a membership to everything. Like the last meeting or the one before, I noticed that, and I really did, and I'll praise him one more time, county attorney. I usually don't praise attorneys, but he brought forth an idea, possibly saving money, and it has other fringe benefits. I think that's very important. But I see so many organizations, it's just an organization. And to me, just to pay out $2,500 to two organizations, and it says if a commissioner wants to serve on the KCCA Executive Committee or the KAC Governing Board, their county must be dues-paying members of both. I think that's interesting. We're tying one to the other. And I really have great hopes. I want to be, you know, on one of those boards. I see the, yes.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Smith, I would like to speak in favor of the Kansas Association of Counties. I do utilize their services. As to the other organization, I offer no comment. I've never utilized it. It appears to be a very specialized group, but I do know that KAC provides pretty general services to the counties and various county departments.
I remember a time back in history, I won't say what the subject matter is because it brings out the identity of the individual. How many organizations this individual belonged to? There's no way that anybody can belong to that many associations, memberships. And this, of course, is to the Kansas County Commissioners Association. They want $9.95. I'll entertain a motion, but I'm not going to second it because I don't think they all belong to this.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we continue to belong to the Kansas Association of County Commissioners.
Dies for a lack of a second. Just saved you $1,000. Okay. The consent agenda is next, and that's the approval of the minutes. Do you have any approval, anything you want to bring up on March 6th?
Well, like you know, Mr. Chairman, I was not here. I was absent, but I did view some of this, and I think that the minutes reflect everything.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay. You know, I noticed in the past, and let's get something legal on this. I don't want to take too much time on it. In the past, I have nothing, nothing wrong with your motion, but why do people always say that they can't approve because they haven't been here?
So I can watch it. I can watch it.
Yes, that's
Right.
good. In our case, see, it's
Right.
showing. That's good.
Mhm.
So is there any other, other than fact, is there something legal about that? I don't think so.
No.
Thank you very much, that answered that. Did you enjoy watching it?
No comment, Commissioner.
Oh, God bless his heart. Okay, how about second session? Oh,
Did you want to discuss any of the other thing?
I'll second that, and how do you vote on that?
Aye.
No, it's going to be the whole consent agenda.
Right, it's whole
There you go.
consent.
Thank you for
So-
letting me clear up my own mistake. Okay, any questions on this second
No.
session? Thank you. Next is approval of the schedule for the next week from the 19th to the 23rd. Any questions on that?
No, sir.
I'd like to mention to you that I have invited Mark, and that's not Mark in Kansas City, that's our Mark, to attend all meetings like most of the cities do. I think that's very good. And let him give the dissertation, and if or if you were attending for me, and we want to comment after that, I think that's good. So I just let you know that I
Okay.
invited Mark. Okay? And check register. Any questions?
No.
I have two.
Okay.
Page one. City of Leavenworth. Dispatch equipment. Here flows the money again. It's just money though. That's $9,504. And January marked 911 equipment. Another $19,000. So it's roughly $29,000 for equipment. And I think that City of Leavenworth, the county ought to get together, since the county does everybody else's dispatching, and I'm sure Andy could do a heck of a job. In fact, I know he would. If we take over dispatching, and the city somehow subsidizes something, or I guess what we could do is really penalize the whole rest of the county and let Tonganoxie, Baser, Lansing all dispatch for themselves. That wouldn't be very wise. So if that was a good idea, I think this would be a good idea, but you know, this would be going on long after I'm dead and gone, and that's supposed to be in 22 years. It makes me 101. So I would like to see somebody push that, because I think it would be a savings for the county and the city. And 14 was, I always hate to bore the people that come, and because I really appreciate them coming, but on page 14, just wanted to let you know, on these alone, we're spending $623,000. And the last question is, why are we getting for review only on check registers? Not two of those.
Mm-hmm.
I got enough to review what I have to act on without what I have to review.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, those are the treasurer's reports. I didn't know what, those aren't check registers, those are the treasurer's reports.
Yeah, also, that's
The
just
boards.
strictly for the treasurer. Thank you
That's
very much.
just, yeah.
Yeah. And last is approval and sign the OCBs. That will take place a bit later. So I'll move, or I'll let you move if you want to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion again to approve the consent agenda.
Second, how you vote?
Aye.
Aye. We don't have the attorney here, county attorney, to split the system up to where I can't fold pages. But I like it when I can performed professionally. That concludes, if I'm not mistaken, session 1.
You ready for a motion to adjourn in session 1?
I'm ready.
I'll make a motion to adjourn session 1.
I'll second that. Joe, you want to question that? Well, I'd like to pass out one more time while we're doing this so other people can serve as the county commission. The boss might let them off for one day, but the boss is not going to let them off for 2 days. He's a good boss. Because most businesses can't run that way anymore. In the old days, the bankers could do that because they had a lot of vice presidents. So, we will open and convene session 2. And the first item is formal board action, approve to exchange federal funds.
Mr. Legion's not here yet.
I'll cover it.
Okay.
So this is an efficient county commission now.
Yeah. I think if you read the report given by the Public Works Director, we had a project that completed. There were funds left over. This was from previous funding cycles, so the reimbursement rate is 90 cents per dollar. If we exchange it, it allows us more flexibility on how we use it. I think the explanation of that was handled at the last meeting, so I don't need to go into that necessarily. It's just that these were from previous funds, so we actually get the 90 versus the 75 we did before. And the Public Works Director is recommending approval.
Any questions?
No.
I do, because I brought it up last time.
Yes.
Last time it was $396,000, and we're going to trade it to the state, and we're going to get $295 back, and that was 70-some%.
That was the 75
Yep,
cents on the dollar they gave us for that.
75 cents on the dollar.
Yeah.
And now I guess we've had some auctioneering, and now we're going to get 90 cents. There has to be some reason for it that we really don't need to get into,
Yeah.
but they all should be 90% instead of this.
Up until this year, they did the 90 cent return, the 75 cent this year.
Well, they found a good avenue for money.
Could be.
Yeah, they don't lower the 1.5 mill levy, which it brings in millions and millions and millions of dollars. And so, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve exchanging the federal funds to the state funds.
Okay, I'll second that. How you vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Apologize for being late, Commissioners. I thought we were going to talk about animals prior to us, so.
We already finished
Well,
that item. Now the sheriff's up.
I must have missed something. I'm
But
sorry.
that's all right. We marked it down that you were late. We didn't mark Sarah down because I knew she was waiting for you.
So we approved the federal exchange money. So the sheriff's up.
Okay. Next is presentations and discussion items. Number 1, animal control discussion with Leavenworth County Sheriff. Do you have anything you want to bring up to the sheriff before he
No.
needs to dissertate?
No, I'm just interested to hear his numbers and his statistics and.
Well, the thing I've written down here, and I did, and I'm sorry, Amy, I didn't get your last name, but that's all right.
Salazar.
I'm doing good to be able to write down your first name. But I had facilities, manpower, location, and estimate of costs. And in doing all that, if we do it, how many miles of roads are we going to knock off? So something has to be removed. So we'll let the sheriff dissertate on this, and we'll see what he comes up with.
Good morning.
Morning, Sheriff.
Morning, Sheriff.
Mr. Lawford asked me to prepare a few comments on the current status of animal control in Leavenworth County. Relatively, the status is unchanged over previous years. I'd like to start first with some numbers of animal calls. Total calls that have to do anything with an animal, 799 for the year of 2017. Again, that's inclusive of anything from a barking dog in the middle of the night to a deer being struck by a car. There are 7 areas that we track, one being animal bite. There were 26 in 2017. Animal complaint, which is a wide consideration of complaints, 467, and that's probably where the majority of them come from. The criminal aspect, cruelty or neglect to animals, we had 27 cases that we worked. Animals running at large, 93. Vicious animals, 11. Deer mortality, that's a deer that's been struck by a car, no accident report taken, 14. And then an animal involved in an accident, it's anywhere from a dog to a horse, 161. The total is 799 for 2017. And when you apply a timestamp to that, that equates to about 26 days of the year in 2017 that time was spent on those. Now, obviously, a lot of those are not a specific or a specialized response necessary. It's just part of the normal duties, pushing cows off the road, make sure horses get back in the fence. Animal control has always been a topic of interest in the county. As the county continues to migrate away from the traditional agricultural role that we played into a more suburban type role, the demands, the expectations of the people who move into the county, they go up. There are some obstacles for us in performing animal control. There are very few county resolutions in place for us to take any type of an enforcement action. One of the things that Mr. Berry spoke about, and he was dead on, was dogs running at large. Well, out in the county, dogs typically do make their daily rounds. Mine are included in that. But we also have an influx of animals that get dumped, especially this time of year, that the dogs obviously don't belong somewhere, and well-meaning people do pick them up. There are, again, few resolutions that give us any authority to act on an animal running at large or to provide any type of care for it. Largely, we rely on KSAs, the Kansas statutes, and those are for the criminal acts against animals, the negligence, the cruelty. Another consideration is the housing of the animals. Right now, if we were to begin picking up animals, where would we take them? Well, there is an agreement with Leavenworth Animal Control. It does come at a cost. It's a $50 impound fee plus $20 housing fee per day. So that's a considerable expense. The Leavenworth County Humane Society has taken it upon themselves to take in animals from people who live in the county, and although they would appreciate to be compensated for that, we have not yet done that. But for 2017, 164 animals were taken in by Leavenworth County Humane Society, 69 of them being dogs, 92 of them being cats. And if we were to have paid any type of fee to them, that would have totaled over $10,000 in boarding cost. And that doesn't count veterinarian care and those type of things as well. Our calls for service have actually declined, and I don't believe it has anything to do with that there's less and less animals out there. I think it's just a realization and probably an assumption from the public that there's little or anything that we can do for them as far as taking care of their issue. And I think what reflects that is in 2017, we didn't impound a single animal anywhere for that. The reality is that this issue won't go away. I think we need to be smart about it as far as how we address it. Again, Mr. Berry is right that this comes at a cost, and that there is not an easy fix for it. But it is something I believe that will have to be addressed sooner or later. We've come before this body, not specifically this board, but we've come before this body on several occasions with recommendations and no action's been taken. So that kind of leaves us in a lurch where there's a demand for service, but there's little that we can do for the public. Again, there is an expectation of services. I have to question, is the sheriff's office the best agency to deal with that? When you consider the time consumption part of this, you know, personally, I believe it probably better in planning and zoning than code enforcement, whereas we would still take on the criminal aspects of it, neglect, the cruelty, the bite cases. But that's just an idea there. In order for us to take it on, you know, considerations would be, you know, right now we're not equipped. We have, I believe, 2 cages, a handful of catch poles, and little basic equipment to deal with the animal calls. To transport the animals, you know, I would say we'd have to have a dedicated vehicle for that. And I say that because in the past, and this is all based off of things that have actually happened, we've had officers bitten while trying to load an animal into their vehicle, a flea infestation in the vehicle from the animal, vomit and other bodily fluids in the passenger areas of the vehicle. And it's not just prisoners that are hauled back there, it's also you know, courtesy escorts and other victim services we provide. So we definitely don't want to put them in a contaminated area. And not all of our vehicles have a prisoner screen in them, so it wouldn't be a safe environment to transport an animal. So what's the solution? I don't know what the whole solution is. I know how we can start, and that is by maybe identifying a couple areas that we can establish resolutions for to start strengthening some of the issues that we have. You know, there needs to be a dedicated place for us to take these animals. I know that Leavenworth Animal Control fills up pretty quickly, especially in the summertime. And then looking at my stats, summertime is where the majority of the animals were taken to Leavenworth County Humane Society. Whether we partner with them or another facility, I think that's something that has to eventually be taken care of. Again, if the duty remains with the sheriff's office to take care of animal control, you know, I would intend on, in this upcoming budget year, to introduce a on-call person to deal with it. However, I think that would eventually bleed over into a full-time position as the demand would increase once people were aware that we were back into the animal control services. So I've given you some information. I know what the problem is. I don't know what the answers are, and I'll entertain any questions or concerns you may have.
Doug, do you have any?
So you do have a contract with Leavenworth as far as taking the animals too?
Yes.
Okay. What would it take to have a contract for, would Leavenworth be interested in a contract in doing our animal control? Means just the numbers you're out there, what, you had 26 animal bites, 27 animal cruelty, and 11 vicious. That would be the ones that would say would fall under the animal control. As far as dogs running at large, you know, like I said, probably not all of them are. I mean, they're probably, they have owners that take care of them. But, so you're, you know, about 70 calls a year that would be considered something that would have to be gone after and taken in?
Well, of the animal complaints, the 467, again, that's kind of just a catch-all. So I think you can probably assume that a percentage of that would also be calls that would, and that may be, hey, there's a litter of kittens under my front porch. Mm-hmm. That obviously you have to take into a shelter somewhere.
Okay.
The animal bite, you know, we consider that a law enforcement issue.
Right.
Because there are some statutes that deal with how that is addressed. Obviously the cruelty and neglect and the vicious animals, then obviously any accident involved in it. The running at large, again, that can be anything from neighbor's cattle to neighbor's dog. The question about partnering or contracting with Leavenworth City to provide animal services, I have actually broached that with Chief Kitchens, and he didn't laugh me out of the room when we talked about it, but there would be some things that some hurdles we'd have to get over. And under what authority would they be out in the county? They can't exercise or take a municipal ordinance out into the county and enforce it. It'd have to be a county resolution, and then they'd have to have the authority to enforce a county resolution. So there'd be some obstacles to get over, which I'm not saying we can't do, but that would also come at an expense, I would imagine.
Okay.
And I'd be willing to continue to speak with them if that's what this board would like to.
Well, I'd just be
inquire
interested. I'd just be interested to know the real numbers, what it would cost to have a contract or an MOU or something with the city. I don't know if any other cities, does Lansing have animal control?
Lansing does have a part-time attached to the police department. Baser used to. I'm not sure if they do anymore.
I think that gentleman retired.
Yeah.
Oh, he did?
He passed,
I
yeah.
did not know that.
And then I'm not sure on Tonganoxie anymore either.
I think Tonganoxie contracts with the city of Leavenworth, I
Actually, they
believe.
used to contract with Baser,
Oh, okay.
so I'm not sure what.
Okay. Well, I guess really what we need is numbers to make any decision, and that'd be at budget time.
Well, I don't even know if it's, there are certain cases that bother me. The guy blew the eyes shut and the mouth
Right.
shut on a dog. Now that gets to the bottom of the rotten core of humanity sometimes.
And that would be considered criminal, and the sheriff's department does
Yeah.
follow up on those currently.
But animals in the county, one thing that's going to take care of it, the annexation. As soon as these areas become part of the cities, annexation will take care of it. Demand for service, at what it's going to cost, time and effort and money, to me, it's not a priority. We can't even get dispatch taken care of. And that is a savings of money. And I think for the 5 things that I wrote down, facilities, manpower, location, estimate of costs, budget, and of course, and I'm not picking on you for this, the one figure you did come up with was $10,000 roughly for the animals that we had. But we're not talking about the agreement with the city and how much that's going to cost us, because it isn't going to be free.
No.
Because they're going to have to put manpower on, somehow we're going to have to put, that's a big operation. I see it in the city all the time, so it's, to me, it's not a subject that needs to be on the budget. It's way in excess of what we have to spend on animals, but if the people want that instead of, roads, I can see that. I can go along with that. We'll just do animal control and knock off doing maybe a mile or 2 a road a year. So,
We can put some numbers together and bring them back during the budget process on what it would
Yeah.
take to provide a animal control officer with the vehicle, the facilities needed to maintain it, that kind of stuff. So we can bring that back during the budget process. I would probably agree with the sheriff that might be a planning and zoning thing because of code enforcement. As far as animal control, the other stuff that you're already investigating is criminal, it's obviously
yeah,
still.
but of course, animal control in the city is under the police department.
Right.
So it'd be under the sheriff. I just don't know if it's worth the time when we're working on this serious things in a budget, and not that animals are not serious, because we know there's a heck of a lot of money spent on dogs and cats. People take their animals seriously, and they should. I don't know about a cat. That dog is loyal, but that cat, Ignore that cat, and he'll let the cat come around, because you see him petting the dog, and the cat's gonna say, hey, I want my share of loving, so.
Mr. Chairman, just one more question. Now, the city, now they have fees to register your dogs and cats and your animals. And does that help subsidize the animal control at the city level?
I can't speak with any authority on that. I can only imagine that it probably is dedicated to their general fund or their
Okay.
operating cost.
Okay.
I don't think there's too many of those that, like Riverfront Community Center, they didn't pay for itself.
Well, or I didn't say it would pay for itself, but it would help subsidize it.
Well, help subsidize, but you still have
I think registration of animals in the county would be,
Oh, no, that'd be a stretch.
you would maybe get some pushback on that.
No, I know you would. No, but I'm just
but you
trying
bring that back.
to see how the city,
It does, I mean, it helps offset it, obviously,
Right.
the revenue associated with it, but typically those fees are so little, they're mainly to make sure you register your pets, so when they do get found out wandering around, they can get them back to the right owner.
okay.
Okay,
That's,
I appreciate that, Andy.
Absolutely.
thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
We'll see it at budget time on the animal control.
Very good.
Thank you. That was A. B is dead-end road improvement discussion.
This came up a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about a PRP program that had a road that was a dead end, it didn't connect, it didn't go through to another street. And the discussion was the board wasn't sure that that should be part of a PRP program. I've asked the Public Works Department to put together some numbers on the PRP program and what we're doing. And we originally were talking about potentially those sections of street that were dead end would be put to the bottom of the list as far as priority goes. But then after evaluating the PRP program itself, we believe maybe there needs to be a discussion about the effectiveness of that entire program.
Well, to take it a little further before they get started, when you're talking about a dead-end road, does that mean there's no right-of-way that continues on through?
Correct.
No outlet.
So it just dead ends for some reason, okay.
Usually
Because there are roads that
usually
dead end.
cul-de-sac, yes.
There are some that dead end, but there's a right-of-way, maybe 40 foot or 50 foot that goes on north and runs into somebody's house and somebody's farm.
I believe we're talking about roads that end in a cul-de-sac and have no right-of-way that extend further. So the PRP program was started back around 2005. Since that time, there have been about 44 projects added to the project list. Most projects fall off of the list due to failure to be able to obtain the required right-of-way. Several projects, such as 147th Street, McIntyre Road, have moved from the PRP to the CIP program. Of those 44 projects, from what I can find, only 6 have been completed since 2005 as part of the PRP program. We currently have 6 active projects on the list that we are working on. 2 of those we are currently attempting to acquire right-of-way on. And we're running into that same problem. It's people just don't want to donate the right-of-way. Even though they signed up for the program, when you actually put the easement in front of them to sign, they have concerns with signing it, so.
Of course, we're not paying them for that, right?
Correct. The PRP program requires it to be donated.
Right. If we add to the PRP, that there'd be some kind of a payment, do you think that would change that at all?
It's hard. It's hard telling.
You might see a lot more people sign up for it because now they're not having to go get their neighbors to donate anything. All you gotta do is get signatures and then they're gonna be paid for it. We're gonna have to use eminent domain and it's no longer really a participatory road program. It becomes part of the road program.
First, we can change the PRP.
Right. So that, one of the things that we've discussed internally is that, again, maybe the PRP program needs to be rehashed to become more effective. And what are some of our options? One of the things that we have in place right now is a dust patch program where you can, and if Commissioner Holland was here, he could even speak to this, where you can pay to have the road in front of your house dust patch, which is, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but it's like a double lift chip seal?
Yeah, it's a double chip seal, yeah.
Okay.
4 inches of base rock and then
Yeah,
chip seal
so
on top of that.
it requires very little actual improvement of the road. It's, and obviously Commissioner Smith knows a lot about this part too, but what I was, and this is, again, we were just contemplating this, is potentially doing away with the PRP program and making it more of a dust patch program where you come in and you pay for the dust patch, and there'd have to be regulations on what would happen, kind of like right now, you have to, with the PRP, you have to connect to existing paved road and so on. If you did something with the dust patch where the homeowners came in and paid for the dust patch, and then the county would maintain it going forward, which is what we do currently with PRP, and some of the dust patch, but the cost is significantly less for the county. Obviously, up front, the homeowners pay it, but then maintenance afterwards becomes ours, which is still, accomplishes what the people really wanted, which is when they came in for the PRP, what they really wanted was improved surface to eliminate the dust and mud and everything else. I think the number I got from the Public Works Director for cost is about $65,000 a mile,
Yeah, roughly.
give or take. Now, that doesn't include the county side of it, which is the labor to go out.
Right.
But it doesn't, that is the cost of the actual materials. But that is significantly less than the 300 and some thousand that we estimate for a low volume road improvement program. And it makes it, I think, more feasible that with that, for roads that qualify, the people would actually do it, where they would come in and do it, and then again, it just gets on maintenance for our part of it. So that might be something that the board might want to consider.
I didn't hear the cost when you said what it would be early in your conversation.
It's approximately $65,000 per mile, is
To
what I.
pave in place.
Yeah, it's a, we're not gonna call it paving place, we're gonna call it dust patch.
Dust control road?
Dust control road, it becomes,
Dust control, and then there'd have to be some kind of priority.
Yeah, the dust
Well-
patch is a little over $12 per foot this year.
and since they'd be paying for it themselves up front, it wouldn't necessarily be a priority other than just prioritizing our ability to, time-wise, for staff to get out and do it. I've also spoken with the county clerk, and we would have the option, again, this all needs to be worked out in detail, but we would have the option of doing like a 5-year special assessment on the property, so that if people wanted to participate, couldn't come up with all the money up front, we could finance it over a 5-year period on their property taxes for them. Again, all those details would have to be worked out.
Yeah, and there'd still be people that didn't want to participate.
Yeah, and then, like, I think you've mentioned, that you actually extended a piece of road at your cost because the neighbors didn't want to participate. That would still be an option too.
Right.
So, I think right now we have a minimum of a half mile. Is that right?
Yes.
We require?
Yeah, PRP
So at a half
requires
mile, you're
a half
talking
mile.
like $33,000. And if you have 4 or 5 people who get in on that, that really is fairly affordable, and you spread it over 5 years. It gets pretty affordable at that point for people if that's really what they want to do. And then obviously as the traffic volume goes up, the county at some point in time would have to come in and do an actual road, but then that's when we use our eminent domain and we acquire right of way. So really, it really becomes a participatory road program in that they're participating by paying up front, and then we maintain it afterwards.
With our recent development fees we just passed, could we use them funds toward that road? If the developer came in, paid the fee, and got everybody else on board to help pay for the hard surface of the road, could the developer use the fees on them roads, on that road?
As a dust patch or?
Yeah.
as
So
improvement?
I guess if the developer came in and let's say that the dust patch was, they were doing a half mile, it's $33,000, and their diff calculated to be, I don't know, maybe $35,000, I suppose that's something the board could consider, is applying that to the dust patch. If
And that
we're
way
gonna-
it gets spent where the
because
development is.
We're setting that money aside for road improvement, And the complaint when we were discussing that was those fees don't necessarily get used in front of the property where they're collected. But it's something that we could discuss. Again, we'd have to work out the details on that. I'm not even sure.
Currently, we're putting that money towards the higher volume roads.
Right.
So that could impact then what high volume roads we get done in the township.
Yeah. Well,
If
maybe
we
we
start redirecting those.
Maybe we discuss the diff and the RIF, the difference between the two. Maybe the RIF, which is what the homeowner is paying, maybe that's something that could be.
Something that could go
be applied
toward that
towards
road if everybody participated in, toward the $12 a foot, you know, but they'd see some benefit from
From it
it.
if everybody, and I'm just wondering if we're not complicating the system, you know,
I think it'd be less complicated when people put their money in,
yeah.
and that should prioritize. And that gentleman right there paid $20,000 to have a dust patch, I believe. Am I right, 20?
Yeah, 24,000, I think. Yeah, my name's Jerry Wilburn, 20130 Douglas Road, Pontotoc. Last year, I did the dust patch. 2 years before that, I did the chemical. You're just wasting your time and money to put the chemical down. That's something I think the county ought to really reconsider and go forward with this dust control patch that you're talking about. Even more so than the PRC.
PRP.
Only the abbreviations, I don't know what they are.
That's all right, I don't either.
I've seen 2 roads, but actually probably 4 roads that are under this thing, and you got all these regulations and everything. And even though you got all of the traffic and all of that, I can see some of the roads need to be wider. But I would really urge you to go ahead with the dust patches. I am very pleased with that $24,000 we spent last year, and I'm gonna spend another $10,000 this year to bring it on down a little further. It's money well spent. You had a comment about 6 months ago about how we ought to pursue this, and that maybe we ought to give some kind of break to the people that are paying for this on their taxes. And I would urge you to probably consider that and maybe go forward with that too, because that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
We, like I said, it's money well spent. If I wasn't pleased with the road, I wouldn't be doing it again. And I told everybody 6 months ago how good the road was, and again, I bragged on the help. They did a good job. I'm gonna do it again, and I'll just pick up my paper this morning and fill it out, and we're gonna do it again this year. But if you could rethink your thinking on giving people a break, that'd be great. And I think you'd see a lot more people go along with this program. You'd probably get a lot more roads. Actually, it's just like paving. It's not a dust patch, it's just like paving. So.
That may be more complicated than we think on giving a break on taxes.
I think what we could do, which is what I brought up, is rather than a break on the taxes, which is difficult, you could do the financing over and putting it on the taxes, so you don't have to come up with the $10,000 up front. I mean, not that that's necessarily a problem, but it's kind of like when the car dealers put out the 0% for 60 months to encourage you to come buy a car. Well, a lot of people take advantage of that even though they have the money, because you get to use somebody else's money. So we might do something like that where we could do a 0% financing so that they then spread it across 5 years. That would be the incentive or the assistance. But giving a break on the property taxes is a problem.
Yeah, that becomes a
There's
real
some
problem.
serious limitations.
Well, can be worked out, I think.
Well, you're talking about.
Or is the county going to assess my property as more value since I'm on a paved road?
Oh, you don't want, we can't go there. We have no control. That is
Is the county
true.
going to do that? If that's the case, I shouldn't have to pay those taxes on that road. I'm improving the road for the county and myself. And actually, there's a lot more people use that road than just the 12 people that live on that road. This road goes down 1 mile this way and 1 mile this way.
Why don't we turn that road over to you and you put a
Toll
meter, make a toll.
I'll do that in a minute.
I wonder if that's tax deductible when you.
But we'll have
donate.
staff look at it, see what thoughts we can come up with. And
UPS and FedEx, and I'm not a computer guy, but they get on their phone and they type in an address on this road, and they'll come in the back way and then get on our road. There's a lot more people using that road now than they were
Oh, yeah.
before I did.
That's true.
So we are helping the county.
I agree.
Cut these 500 miles of dirt roads down. They're not gravel, they're dirt. We're helping the county on these roads. So I think we ought to get some kind of break. Your idea, if that's the best you can do, I'd take it. But I'm paying cash next week.
We appreciate that. I wish everybody did that. We wouldn't have a problem,
Yeah.
but
Okay, did you have any, where else? Do you have anything else?
Unless you have any more questions.
I had some questions. 150th, I've been getting some, wanting to know, it's not gonna be done till 19?
K32 to.
Yeah, it was designed, that one
designed
wasn't
right-
one that we could have done with existing right-of-way
No, it's
without
being designed
designing
right
it?
now. Probably in the next couple months, we'll start acquiring, or attempting to acquire the easements.
Okay,
Current plan is, yes, constructing in 2019, pending budget approval.
okay. So how much work's gotta be done on that road?
There'll be, as far as grading the vertical profile, there's minimal. Most of the grading will be ditch work and widening.
So it is pretty much what's there, just,
Yeah, the vertical profile won't change much at all. It's more grading for ditches and grading for widening the road to a better width than it currently is.
okay. That had to go,
The design's almost complete. We'll be starting the right of way here pretty soon.
we couldn't have just done that ourselves without designing it, just
No.
crowding it?
No, not with the traffic count that was on that.
What's the traffic
I don't
count?
have that number with me, but it was up above the threshold of.
It was over 300?
I don't know the exact numbers.
Okay.
I don't want to give
All
a
right.
number off the top of my head for that road.
All right, I'll get them from you later. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Morning. Chet Shimke, District 2. One of the questions that I've had in working with the team over here and understanding all of our hard surface opportunities for those that live not on hard surface was what the savings for the county might be.
There's none.
There's zero.
No.
Seems the amount of
No.
gravel, grader.
You take
all of those
when you reseal that road, it's gonna take you $17,000 a mile every 3 years. Divide that out, you're not spending that kind of money on gravel. Unless you got 500 cars a day, you're not gonna get past that threshold of pain.
And that could very well be the case, that those roads are in the condition they are because they're not probably getting the amount of maintenance they need.
Well, it'd take a while for you to spend a lot, $17,000 a mile in gravel, that's for sure.
We don't ever want to remove the factor. We are 54% untaxable. We could go out and concrete every road. Is that what you're gonna do? Concrete, curb and gutter?
Oh, I'd suggest not.
No, we can't do that. We have to work at the level of what we have. And that's what's becoming very hard to do because people, they come up with an idea, but they're not looking at, well, what's the total expense? Now, we fix one road and people now deviate, they detour, they go that road because that's the road to go, because if they go another half mile this way, they've got gravel.
Sure.
And that's just logical. So I get, it's hard to come up with a logical progression and not remove roads because of their existing count as a gravel road. And that's the count you have to go on.
Yep.
And it becomes a county that is 54% untaxable. It's very hard to do what Johnson County does, okay?
Sure.
Or Douglas County. They got 30,000 eaters down there, 33,000 now. They eat and buy clothes. Our visitors up here, they don't eat and buy clothes. They're
No,
pretty.
and I think a paved in place, a dust hatch type solution makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And
Right.
in that scenario, you're not talking about sidewalks, and
Yeah.
gutters,
Right.
and sewer.
But you are talking about sometimes right away because, you know,
Sure.
we're still going to use, we got to go out and do not a study, what was
Oh, to design, to determine whether he has to design a
We
road?
always have a design, and that, you know,
Right.
I don't wanna pick on my engineer, make him feel bad for the day, but, you know,
There's some time in it.
yeah, there's some times it's needed, but there are also times when you can just do the road as it is. Which is chip and seal it.
Existing right of way.
But, existing right of way.
No, it's exciting to hear that there are some creative solutions being proposed. Now, I was one of those when I heard the dead end, thought, what's the difference between a dead end and a cul-de-sac? I've seen a lot of cul-de-sacs, not a lot of homes, that based on where I live would be considered a cul-de-sac, and there's just as many.
Right.
Now, granted, I understand the reasoning behind the through roads, and Lord knows there has to be a priority, a prioritization of it. And if we have homeowners that are willing to spend money, subsidize, split the cost, I'm really shocked. Doug, it's very helpful to know that there is no cost savings whatsoever in a hard surface road. In a paved
Not on a
place,
low,
that's an
not on a
artificial
low
road.
volume road. Not on a low volume.
So what's the diminishing return?
The low volume break is at 400 cars a day. I don't know what your traffic count is, but would your neighborhood be interested in participating in a program like that for $12 and, what is it, $12.80?
Well, with some change, yeah.
$12.80 a foot, put it on your taxes for the next 5 years?
Yeah, but I think there would be
That
a lot of
would-
interest. There's going to be those that are probably, against any type of tax increase. It's going to happen anyway, and I'd argue that I'm going to improve a road, and I'm probably going to take a hit on taxes, and I'm one of those that I'd be okay with it, others wouldn't, in all seriousness. But I can almost assure you that my taxes will go up being on hard surface versus not, regardless of whether it's subsidized.
They went up this year on the gravel, didn't they?
Yeah.
Okay, they're gonna go up
Yeah, I'm
anyways.
shocked by that, yeah. Will not be surprised, so.
So,
Okay, well, I appreciate the time. Again, being one of those citizens, creative solutions is something we've been looking for.
yeah, the value, well, but your appraisal went up, let's put it that way.
Sure.
There's more and more.
We haven't determined what the taxes, or what the mill levy is gonna be for next year, when
Oh, this is
when
the
that
year of the
appraisal.
taxpayer. We've already figured that out. This
Yeah.
is the year of the taxpayer.
And
Year of
we,
the
and
taxpayer.
we are under a tax lid, so your
I know we're
increased
not-
appraisals aren't gonna be as bad as they could be.
But we can't get the Lumber Times behind us, so. Once we get them behind us, the year of the taxpayer, it'll greatly improve. But we're coming up with more and more ideas, and I think you've noticed that. But more and more ideas to function and improve it where we can financially without, the thing we could do is just 100% tax. Whatever you make comes to us in the city and the schools. And we'll do whatever, Somewhere it has to stop. And you have to realize that you can only tax so much because you're working hard and you want to improve your life for working hard. But you've got a 54 million over here that aren't working hard, and we have to improve them also. So,
Understood.
but I like your attitude. When you come, you're very presentative and very mild. I like that.
Oh, thanks. The last question I had is, unfortunately, I can't always attend every week, and I know most everybody here struggles with that time to time. And the Eisenhower project, I know, is one that's been brought up several times, and I actually just had a quick question. I thought I had heard that there was a real opportunity for us to leverage grant money, whether that was state, federal, some combination of.
Mid-America Regional Council.
And it sounded like it might subsidize up to 50% or better.
If it could.
Yeah. But we don't know yet.
We'll make application, and then we'll have to wait for the review process to see where we're not the only ones applying for that money.
Sure.
Limited pool, lots of applications. Ours has to hit a priority target. The good thing is that we will be designed, and we already have our matching funds in place. So we'd like our chances, but that doesn't mean we'll be the ones to get it. But we are applying for them.
And I just missed some of those meetings. Hate to believe in rumors, so I thought I'd go directly to the source. So is there any desire to try to speed that up and do it all ourselves and completely miss out on that grant money, or we're just hoping for the best, planning for the worst? Like, where's
We're
that?
continuing on. We're not gonna turn that money away. The last time we got some money from the Mid-America Regional Council, got like $950,000, wasn't it? it was less than $1 million, and it was gonna take $1.5 million and to make the upgrades to comply with the grant. So we had to turn the money back. It was gonna cost us money to take the money, so.
But you need $1.5 million to improve, and they were gonna subsidize 900.
No, the difference in the plan, the change order to qualify to get that money, the changes in the design was gonna be $1.5 million more dollars to get 950,000. We couldn't afford to take the money.
Sure.
And that could happen on this one too.
And when is the submittal deadline, and when will we know?
Submittal's next Friday.
Next,
23rd.
yeah.
But it'll be probably fall before we know for sure.
Before we'll know either way.
See, with your point of expediting, we had that discussion up here, and it went one way one day, and the next day it's going the other days. So there's somebody talking out here within the system, and it came out it would be 2030 before we'd get Eisenhower done. Now, is Eisenhower going to affect you personally?
Well, I'm sure the experience will be better going on it, yeah, but personally, no.
God, I love good experiences, you know, and throughout all these years that your mother and I have had these experiences, we know what good experiences are. But if we can do 15 to 25 more miles of road by slowing it down a little bit, we don't have to use all that money. We're getting it up to 2037, okay? So if we're going to expedite it and get the road done, we're going to lose in interest over close to $7.5 million, okay? I don't know if that is money or not, but I think that is money. So we're going to expedite it. We could slow down a little bit. Now, you living out there in the county.
Well, it's a traffic count, right? If you think about 7 South,
Well,
it has a hell of a lot more than Eisenhower does. So I am one of those people that travel south.
Yeah.
So it doesn't impact me daily.
Doesn't
And there's lots of
impact-
people that it does.
Doesn't
So,
impact
I
you
get
at
it.
all, but you should still have an opinion. Do you want another 15 to 25 miles of road done out in the county? See, my problem is, I'm concerned with people in Easton, Linwood, Tonganoxie, Basehor, Lansing, and Leavenworth, and the rural part of the county. That's my problem.
Right.
I am concerned with everybody trying to get a little bit so we can keep the world happy. But if we're going to do away with that many miles of road because we're going to expedite a road that affects me more than anybody sitting in here. Totally affects me more than anybody, and it has been for 20 years. So I often wonder, and it isn't going to affect the industrial park. It isn't going to affect them at all. Well, what, 1 truck a day, maybe? We have no speed limits, trucks not allowed on 20th Street. There's a whole bunch of, well, that doesn't mean anything. Let's expedite Eisenhower. I want the extra roads. I want somebody to allow me to make a part of, a little bit more of the decision on my road than Bob Holland up in Easton and Doug Smith down in Tonganoxie. I'm willing to give that up for you, anybody who lives in the county, to have an extra 15 to 20 miles of road. And I'll guarantee you that I will receive, and I'm not going to use the words, more BS because of me pushing you to have more county roads, when the other two should be definitely way more aware of we need county roads also. And Eisenhower is not going to affect diddly squat. Nothing's going to be affected. Well, you know, I'm going to do this or I'm going to do that. I don't know how many house permits we've had in the city of Leavenworth in the last 5 years, but it's been very few. Is that going to enhance them? No. You got to have the buyers. And that's a long dissertation on buyers because real estate people have bad-mouthed Leavenworth because of the Lansing schools And the Baser schools have badmouthed Lansing, so, you know, the population, where they move, just moves around. So Leavenworth, it's gonna take them a while to build up their roads, and if they go through with Muncie, they pick up another 1,600 potential homes. And if they go up Shawnee, up to the land that's owned up there in the Leavenworth School District, they pick up probably 4,000 or 5,000 more homes. But that doesn't mean how many homes you can pick up, it's how many homes you can sell. And the prices of homes are not going down. So,
Yeah, my question was more so around the acceleration of the project. If the acceleration of the project derails all of the other projects out there, then
It sure does.
I wouldn't support it. I mean,
it sure does. It derails it. Anybody says it doesn't, they're just making a false statement. But I still like the attitude. You know, you approach it very good. I like it. It makes me think more.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate the time.
Yep. Mr. Barrett.
I get out here and I listen to all these discussions about roads, road improvements, and I get it. People live up in the county, you bought a house on a rock road, and you'd like to see it asphalted or chip sealed or something better than just a rock road. I get it. That all costs money, and I think the taxpayers have to realize you bought a house on a rock road. Your expectations of the county jumping out there and blacktopping your road should have been very low, because we can pave it, chip seal it, however we do it. But at some point, we gotta pay for that. And I'm like you. I got a raise on my tax bill this year, and I'm thinking, I didn't do no improvements. How did my tax bill go up so much? But it went up quite a bit. I don't think they're doing any improvements to my road because it's already chip sealed. I paid for it when I bought my house. It was part of the package. You buy a house on a rock road, you get a little less than you will if you bought that same house on an asphalt road. The thing I see is long-term, we keep improving these roads. This dust patch thing, that's the first I'm hearing of that, but it sounds like it's a good thing for some people. I don't know where that material comes from, where we get it from. Is it reground asphalt? I'm not sure what that really is. But it comes from somewhere. That means repairing up something.
No, it's just base chipping and sealing the existing road.
And it's not dusty like a regular rock road.
It'd be just chip seal like in front of your house.
So it's a
Hard surface.
what are we putting under it? It's just a rock road.
AB3.
chip seal at the top?
Yeah, you'd put 4 to 6 inches of AB3, compact it, finish grade it, squirt it with oil
Really?
and rock.
That's what I got in front of my house. I'm all right with that.
Yep.
The other thing, Lou made a comment earlier, and we do these county commissioner meetings on one day a week, so we can make it viable for somebody that's working a job to be a county commissioner. And I think that's a wrong thing for the public, because as taxpayers, they think you're a county commissioner 7 days a week. They think you're coming here 5 days a week.
They do.
We know that's not always possible. You got meetings and things you attend
Right.
other places, I get that. But I just want people to understand, if you've got a full-time job somewhere else, coming to be a county commissioner thinking you come here 1 day a week is probably not, that's not a realistic thing. If you can do that, then you're a magic man, because being a county commissioner takes more than 1 day a week. And I just want to clarify that statement wasn't misinterpreted by people, because I know, Mr. Clamp, I run into you here other days other than Tuesday. So I know you're here more than those days. And if I can get to that position, I'll be here more than 1 day. Thank you.
Very good, thank you.
So on this subject, what we'd like to do is work through the details, work with the clerk, with Public Works, and with the county councilor, and make sure that what we're proposing is allowable and the application of it. But if the board is supportive of it, what we'd like to do is revamp the PRP program to maybe be more of a dust patch participation program. Get those details worked out and bring them back to the board, maybe in, say, 30 days, if that would work.
Did we finish dead end?
Well,
No.
it started out the dead-end conversation,
Yeah.
which was part of the PRP, which
Yeah.
we're talking about now is maybe the PRP gets redone, so that with the dead end, if the
It wouldn't
people
matter.
came in and paid, they're
Yeah.
paying anyway, so it wouldn't matter.
Yeah,
So that
If
would
they're
address it.
paying for it, who cares?
That's true.
So that, we would hope that would address all of that. So,
Okay.
But
I
give
think
it,
that
if they
will.
give us 30 days to work through it and come back with a proposal for the board, and that would be, and we would also with that address what we do with the roads that are already in the PRP.
We'd have to honor them, wouldn't we?
Well, I think we'd probably maybe offer the people,
The same deal,
offer them, they could either stay on the PRP and we're not sure when it's gonna
or
get done, or
expedite
they
it.
could expedite it by
by-
switching over.
by
If,
participating.
again, they'd have to meet all of the other standards that come up with, such as traffic counts.
I'm glad somebody recognized that, you know, it just isn't Tuesday, 2 sessions. Because I pick up the agenda Thursday or Friday, and now I'm starting to get it in order. Now, it's going to be very difficult here. And then Sunday or Monday, I'm putting it in another order because I want to be able to talk intelligently, and some people may think I don't anyway, but that's all right. But, you know, it's going to get real difficult the next week or so because we have K-State, Wichita State, and KU. Now, that does take a priority, but I'll still have the agenda in a proper order on Tuesday, okay? Because I do consider basketball as something very essential. So, 179th Street.
All right. 179th Street. 179th Street between Leavenworth Road and Donahue Road was added to the PRP project list in 2012. In 2016, the board directed Public Works to move forward with the project even though unable to obtain all easements through donation. Easements have been donated or were donated by 18 of the 20 parcels along that stretch of road. Since then, the design is completed, all easements have been acquired, and utilities have been relocated. Project is currently out to bid with an opening date of March 22nd, which is next Thursday. And the current traffic count for a 24-hour period was 314 vehicles. And to date, we've spent approximately 70,000 miles on the design and dust control.
$70,000.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's
70,000.
all right. We only got 700 something
Oh,
miles,
brother.
but that's good.
765.
Doesn't matter, but.
So that's where we're at currently with that
Okay.
project.
Now, of course, you know what was so funny is the last week, it was just
Mm-hmm.
the Bob and Lou show. And
Yep.
so, I brought up the subject, and it was like Mr. Holland was ready for a motion and a second, and we would take it off the program. I have since received a nice letter, I won't mention, or email, from a lady who lives out in that direction. But you know what amazes me? And I get amazed by a lot of things. Where was the involvement in people when all of a sudden we were moving this road from a PRP that didn't qualify? We're moving it now to a CIP. I guess we can do that anytime that we are wanting to show favoritism to a road. We pass all these policies, and that is our job up here. We pass policies and we do the budget so we don't get any favoritism. And that's all it was favoritism. So where were the people that were getting the favors, who they were, why they were? I haven't the slightest idea. But the road count is 314, so that gets it above the 3.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing that somebody would, 314, would travel that little bit of road daily. There's 20 parcels, how many homes?
Approximately 20.
Approximately 20?
Yeah,
There's
so
quite a
that-
few on
That road
Donahue.
continues on north, and there's roads off
Yeah.
to the east and west, so it's not
But
just those
but there's
20.
hard surface roads other directions, aren't there, to get out to
No.
Leavenworth Road's really about the only,
Okay, there's one hard surface road,
if you
right?
go another couple miles, you gotta go a couple miles north to hit
A
Fairmont.
couple miles north. So we're gonna cut on the gravel road. But what bothers me, again, there was no favoritism. I have no use for favoritism. To me, that's something that's under the table. As I look down, and I appreciated, as I say, this email, and I won't mention the lady's name, if she wants. I was of great concern back when it was approved. I was the only one here. Where was everybody else? Well, the people that were getting it approved, they were getting it approved out of sequence. It didn't qualify. So only I was here. I wasn't a county commissioner. I was sitting back there in the audience. Let's go up to Northland. Because I had a phone call not a phone call, I met with a lady yesterday. Of course, you know, we only work one day a week, right? No. So I had a meeting with a lady and she was saying, you know, we never do anything for the people up north. And I started to say, wait, yeah, but it's road. She said, Louis, I don't care about road count. I just like some money spent up here. Now, we overspent on 207th Street. That was an overspend. What did it take, 15 years? It said 2.5 years, but it took 15 years. From when the paperwork originally started. I don't know how many have died off, but in 15 years, a lot of people could die off. But it says, and I measured it off, 7,953 lineal feet, boils down to 1.5 miles. And you divide that into 882,000, that's $588,000 a mile. I mean, yeah, $588,000 a mile. That's a lot of money to spend on a road. If we're going to do other roads and we're going to expedite Eisenhower and do away with 14 to 25 roads, we as a county, we have to start talking about money. So that's what we set policies for, to remove us from doing a payoff to somebody in the Northland, the Southland, the Middleland. See, I can't do any payoffs here in the Middleland.
Oh, most of your roads are paved.
All my roads are paved.
Just a
It
few.
really makes me feel bad that I can't do a payoff
Yeah.
for Mr. Schoenbeck out there. I can't do a payoff.
Yeah.
So somewhere, I ought to be able to do a payoff. And that's what it was for 179th Street. Somewhere, somebody, and nobody came in to complain that lived on the road, but there was one guy that lived in the city of Leavenworth that came and complained. That was me. So, I just don't understand where the group is coming from that now, say I appreciated the letter and the note, that we're concerned about 179th Street. It should never have been on the order. Way back when, there were some roads that qualified that had 100% volunteering when we had a PRP program. We really, how many dollars we got in there? 100 and some thousand? Very little money, so we can't do too much. So now it's a CIP. Can we continue to do CIP graph roads?
Can we?
Yeah, you know, just, you got a road out there and you want it done, you're my engineer, I want to do a road for you.
Well, we're working on a CIP. It hasn't been approved by the board.
Yes, approved by the board. There we go. Approved by the board. And the board should never have approved it, but they were just moving around to get it to qualify somehow. So, what is it, 75,000, where's the figure?
What we spent?
Yes.
70.
We've spent probably around, this number doesn't include, I think it's been dust controlled at least once, maybe twice.
Yeah.
That number's not included in here. So we've probably spent around $75,000.
And it isn't wasted money.
Well, but we we've taken the easements,
Well, there's nothing wrong with that because.
and the utilities are on it, but the reason the easements were donated was to do the road.
Yeah, well, that's all right, okay. It said, here, where does it say? It says we have programmed not up to more than $40 million, okay? County in a principal amount not to exceed 40 million. It didn't say we had to go out and spend 40 million. We're actually getting 97 million now, and I'm trying to preserve 8 million of that to do more of your roads and his roads. Because you're not gonna do any of my roads.
No, because most of them's done.
Well, I know that, and that's why I'm saying it. We get nothing out of it. It isn't, I want a road, you want a road, he wants a road. It isn't done that way.
But
we set down the policy, and the policy says you have to qualify under these directions, or you don't get your road done. It's simple, to me, but it isn't going to go anywhere today. I'll do a motion that we drop 179th Street, and that's my motion. Will you second that? No, it's going to die for a lack of a second. You're going to get here. It's going to die for a lack of a second, and during that time, we can have people come up and talk.
This road is out for bid. I think a bid's open on the 22nd.
Well, today is what? Today is the 13th. We have one more meeting, and the commissioner here that brought up the idea, well, maybe we ought to drop that road. And he's not here today. So, yes, ma'am, you would like to talk.
I have actually worked on the road for 14 years. I've been up for 21 years, and I have actually taken the time to go and get all the easements. I've gone out to my neighbors' doors, and I've done that. I just want to say, first of all, I do appreciate all of everything you do up here, and I know this is not easy. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm a teacher, and my kids have to go.
Even the chairman of the board allows that to happen once in a while.
Sorry. I apologize for that. I'm not sure about everything. I don't understand. I don't exactly know about where that came from. I don't understand any of that. I know I was the one getting the signatures and things, and I did it the right way. I came up, I got the signatures. I do know there was, we had something else. I'm not sure of the two. I don't understand the two. And I think they both own the two parcels and things, but and we all, our neighbors have went and got, and we've all have signed away our easements. I don't know if you're familiar with the road at all, but it goes from Leavenworth Road to the Donovan Road.
I totally understand it, because when I was on the commission, we chip and sealed up to the cemetery, so they didn't have to drive in the dust.
Right, and I've lived out there since then. I have lived out, because I've lived out there for 21 years, and it was 3 miles of gravel, and I understand what I did buy it on the gravel. At the time, the chip and seal was not available to us, and we've actually, all of my neighbors have given up their easements. I don't want them with the legal aspect of all of that about, they gave it up and they had to sign over to, in regards to having it paved. And so I don't know about the legal aspects of that, because I know people.
And there's another thing. We can always mess, I don't know what the legal aspect.
Right, I know.
I personally don't care about legal. I'm more interested in logical. He may be interested in legal, but I see court cases all the time coming up because of legal. Okay, we'll give you the land back if that would go through, and it isn't going to go through, because I know he's changed his mind. He isn't going to do it. So it's not a big deal one way or the other. It's just a point of presentation that I'm trying to do for the next 20-some years before I die, for people to understand you didn't qualify.
I understand.
I have empathy, sympathy, and everything else. I lived on a gravel road. I wanted to maintain it for the county, and they said, legally, you don't have insurance. I said, I'll take out an insurance policy. How far could I have gone? I was going to maintain it. The gentleman just said how much money he has spent on his road.
Yes.
And you're involved in, and that's what I appreciate.
And I totally understand where you're coming from, I do. Because I mean, I'm a taxpaying citizen, I mean, I work for the school district, believe me, I mean, my money, I'm paid by the state, just like,
Right.
you know, and everything too. So I do understand that. And it is, I mean, I don't know about the traffic count, but it is, I mean, obviously that was a traffic count, I don't know what previous traffic counts have shown, but it just seems like a lot of people cut through a lot of that road. Along there from, that's the only road from State Avenue, 178, to cut across to 179th, and then they connect up with Fairmont. That's the only way they can.
You're going to have a lot more cut-throughs when it's finished.
And you're totally right. I totally agree with you and things, so.
And we're going to be saying, how can we alleviate all your cut-throughs by doing another road? Because they just got too many people cutting through, you see, so
Right.
it'll be a.
Oh, and you're right, and things, and I just would, it's just one of the roads that I would like to see done because I've worked so hard me personally, I've worked very hard, and you know what, it's been a great experience for me too. I've knocked on my neighbor's doors, I've got to know people in my neighborhood, out in the country that I probably would have never met.
So that's a positive.
It's definitely a positive, and we've gotten this far on it. And I've been to numerous county commissioner meetings and things, and I feel like I said, something that it's made me a whole aspect of the county in general, of how the county works. It's been very eye-opening, in a good way, that people need to get more involved in the county and things.
Very good.
And so, but I would just hate to see it fall, because we're trying to get all these roads paved in the county. I know you guys are, I appreciate all that. I appreciate the Eisenhower possibly being slowed down. To pave those, 10 to 15 extra roads. And I appreciate you giving that up. And I feel like I've done the same thing, kind of give this up for many years, but I kind of let it go. And I just would hate to see something fall apart when it's this close to, another road being completed. It's only half a mile. We're not talking like a lot of land. And like I said, I have no idea what the favor is, because I've not done it. I've done a lot of legwork. I wish the papers had been done 14 years ago when I was going to have to do this, but I've been doing it for 14 years. I've been threatening my neighbors and everything else because I couldn't get a hold of them, so I put something in their mailbox, and it's not been an easy process.
You weren't using their mailbox to drop stuff, were you?
Well, I knocked on the door, and I didn't realize it. A young 14 years ago, and I didn't realize it was. So I've learned a lot through the process.
Yeah.
And I would just greatly appreciate. And like I said, we've had some neighbors we had hold outs before, even more than that, and they've since moved, or we've built a relationship with people.
Right.
And I know the one family is not for it. They don't even live on the road. People that actually didn't sign it do not live on the road. I know they were the same way on that worker. They gave the commission a hard time then at the time too, and I'm sorry for that, and I'm sorry for those people that are like that, because I do know how hard it all works up here, and I do appreciate it. So believe me, it's not asking for a favor. It's just put a lot of blood.
But it was initially, you didn't qualify.
And I totally
And that's where it should have stopped,
And I totally understand.
but it was taken further. But
And I don't know why or when, or we didn't ask, nobody asked, that, and I just feel like we moved this far, and I would just hate to have it.
you have a great presentation. You need to get together with Mr. Shemke and discuss how beautiful your presentations are.
Well, I appreciate it, and I do appreciate you.
As it stands right now, the road's still on schedule, right? There's been no motion to stop it.
It's still.
Bids are gonna open on the 22nd.
And if there's any way that I can help with any kind of this project,
I'd say it's still on schedule until something.
Of what you've created of that, I think people would have loved that 100 times. I would have loved done that at one point in time. But we're so far into this project now that I feel, that's, I know my neighbors would have all done that instead of having to fight the battle. Because then sometimes you build that, but also sometimes there's pushback too, and then that creates animosity between neighbors, and that's not a good thing either.
But you just hope that there isn't any digression now again.
Yes.
For somebody to say, well, let's do this road. Well, wait a minute, does it qualify? And we hope that doesn't take place again.
And I would not want, I would 100% support what you're saying.
Thank you.
sense. But then I just, the only thing is it's so hard for like me, like I said, I went so hard and worked so hard to have one person
Right.
not pull out. And then I appreciate them bringing forth because then someone else, because some of us, we even went to some of the people that were holding out and things, asked them and said, we'll pay for your fences. We grouped together as neighbors. We were willing to pay for fences. We were willing to do things, and people did, they just wouldn't listen.
You know how many miles of road are in your township? You know off the top of your head?
It'd be about, or you're in Stranger Township, so it'd be 65. About 65, wouldn't it?
I don't have that number. That's pretty good.
Oh, come on.
It's between
What kind of
60 and
engineer we got? He
65.
doesn't even know that. But
Well, I know the third district is 50 miles behind the first district in
Yeah,
gravel
see that?
roads.
Seeing up in Easton,
There's 251 miles in the third district of
when I
gravel
lived in
roads.
Easton,
100
we had 70-some miles of road on about a $12,000 budget. So I got two ladies in Tonganoxie, and we went out and got the signatures to get the county to take over township roads. Oh my God, did the world fall apart.
October 1973.
That was the most horrible thing. Who would have thought of that? And now everybody's basically happy, except maybe our old maintainer driver. I don't think we were paying, and I think he's dead now, so he's probably happy. So, thank you, but it is. That was because Mr. Holland said, well, why not put it on for discussion? So, and a lot of times I see that with planning and zoning. People will show up to talk in favor, and I'm thinking, why are they even showing up? Somebody should advise them. Although it's good for you to come to the meeting. I thought that we only had one person that had a good approach to the county commission, and I thought that was Mr. Shepke. And now I find out we have two.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much.
You did me a favor.
Well, my daughter will be happy. She's in forensics. Her mom doesn't like to talk. I talk to a bunch of group of kids. I don't enjoy talking to a bunch of
Tell her mom did good.
Okay, I'll tell her that.
We ain't got any stars. Yeah.
My kids in second graders will be happy. They see that I got a star today, so.
There you go.
So, no, I sure appreciate it, and I
Yeah.
appreciate this being brought forward.
See what came out of the conversation?
Yeah, very good.
Yeah.
Good, and maybe, and then hopefully this road will be done, and in the future we'll start this program that we wouldn't have issues like that.
I think Mr. Smith wants to say something.
Well, I was just hoping you weren't insinuating that I was favoritism on supporting this road. I just want to point out, she had my opponent's sign in her yard.
Well, maybe we, let's reconsider this motion.
That's right. So
You had,
she had my opponent's sign in her yard, and now she wants me to vote for her road.
Well,
So that goes to show you how
not,
I'm not affected by that.
oh
even though
my.
I do buy some things from his wife.
Okay. Well, we're-
I do good.
Okay,
Well, you
but I'm just saying, we have 215 miles of gravel road in the third district. I think first district has 150 miles. So we've got some catch-up to do on the third district on paving
Well, you
roads.
may get some mustard too.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thank you. Appreciate it. Tell your kid he did good.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sorry you had to take a day off.
That's all, I had everything covered.
Yeah.
They would have been fine, I'm sure they would like it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Very good. Okay, I don't know if there was anything else.
I don't believe there was, Mr. Chairman.
Well, there isn't anything on that, but did Mark hand us anything that we're supposed to make a dissertation on? When there's some
Is that
legal
Mr.
or
Van
something?
Berry's, Mr. Van Perry's?
No, there's something on legal, pay money.
Commissioners, you may have received a letter. I haven't had a chance to review it. I'd like you to table that at least until the next meeting.
Okay.
There's a bill.
There was a bill.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner.
That was a legal bill. I think that just came in and we put that in your inbox.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily come from us, it's just addressed to.
Have you looked at it?
Yeah. Have you not looked at it?
No, I haven't. It's just in my box.
Oh, okay.
I've
No, I
noticed.
had this from the other day. It says needs approval.
Oh, I had that one, yeah. I thought you meant we got another one.
Well, I don't know.
Okay.
We get so many legal bills. And I don't know, maybe I should vote pay it because I think Bob brought up that he thought I said something about not paying any more legal bills.
Well, it needs to get paid.
Wait a minute. If I had said I wouldn't pay anymore. Is that the last item?
Yes,
You don't have to disregard.
I don't need anything.
I will make a motion to pay the bill from Anderson Bird. I don't have the amount in front of me.
In the amount of $15,365.65.
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that. How do you vote?
Aye.
Aye. Anything else? Going once, going twice?
Motion to adjourn?
Second it? And I'm sorry we went for an hour and 40 minutes.